In 1935, Foshan became a martial arts hotspot as numerous schools sprouted up, with many students training and competing there. Among the esteemed masters, Ip Man stood out. One evening, while Ip Man was having dinner with his family, he received a visit from a new arrival, Master Lu, seeking a practice session. Ip Man initially declined, explaining his dinner plans, but Lu persisted, and Ip Man invited him to join their meal, agreeing to practice later. They discreetly closed all doors for their duel, promising secrecy. However, a young man named Yuan, who had lost his kite in Ip Man's courtyard, climbed a tree to retrieve it and inadvertently witnessed Ip Man defeating Lu. Yuan shared the news, embarrassing Master Lu. Lu later confronted Yuan at the restaurant owned by Yuan's brother Lin, who was a follower of Master Lu. Yuan attempted to arrange a rematch between Ip Man and Master Lu to validate his claims, but his brother humiliated him by pulling down his trousers in front of everyone. A police officer intervened, warning that troublemakers would face arrest under his watch. Captain Li, the police officer, advised Ip Man and Master Lu that the era of martial arts had given way to firearms, displaying his gun. Ip Man skillfully disarmed the officer and resolved the situation amicably by treating him to dinner. Later, Yuan approached Ip Man at home, expressing a desire to practice new techniques together while spectators gathered. However, when Ip Man's son, Jun, eagerly showed his father a drawing he had made, Ip Man was too engrossed in practice to notice, leaving the boy disappointed. When onlookers requested to see the move Ip Man had used against Yuan, his wife asked them to leave. The following day, unfamiliar men arrived in Foshan, inquiring about the martial arts street. After locating it, they challenged and defeated two of the school's masters, while Ip Man remained oblivious at home with his wife and child. Lin informed Ip Man about a group of highly skilled visitors who had defeated all the martial arts masters in Foshan. However, Ip Man didn't pay much attention, as he wanted to spend time with his family. The visitors later defeated Master Lu, sparking a discussion about their plan to establish their own school in Foshan. At a local restaurant, they were warned that Ip Man was the town's finest martial artist. Undeterred, they arrived at Ip Man's home, where he initially refused to fight. However, when the leader assured Ip Man's wife that he wouldn't harm him and offered to fight with one hand, she agreed. Ip Man cleared the house of onlookers due to the limited space, locked the door, and ultimately defeated the visitor, keeping his promise not to take his life. Ip Man gained immense respect in Foshan, receiving gifts wherever he went, as did his wife and son. However, on their way home one day, Chao Qingchun, whom Ip Man had lent money to, informed him that there were rumors of Ip Man starting his own martial arts school. Ip Man was surprised, as he hadn't considered this himself. Then, on July 7th, tragedy struck when the Japanese invaded China, resulting in a devastating loss of life in Foshan, reducing the population from over 300,000 to about 70,000. The Japanese seized Ip Man's house, turning it into their headquarters, pushing him into dire poverty. He resorted to pawning his possessions to feed his family, even encountering Chao Qingchun, who proposed they manage a mill together, but Ip Man declined the offer. As his wife fell ill and they had nothing left to pawn for food, Ip Man desperately searched for work, but opportunities remained elusive. Ip Man eventually found employment at a coal mine, where he learned that the boss was a former martial artist who preferred hiring individuals with martial arts backgrounds. During his time there, he reconnected with Lin, who was on a quest to locate a concealed metal case he had hidden when the Japanese army arrived. Despite Ip Man's advice to the contrary, Lin had volunteered to participate in a contest organized by the Japanese army, promising a bag of rice to anyone who would fight them, win or lose. At the event, General Miura proposed a challenge involving 3 fighters, and Lin and 2 others accepted. Unfortunately, they were all defeated by the general. Ip Man later shared this story with his wife, mentioning his reunion with Lin at the mine. The next day, while working at the mine, Ip Man discovered the metal case but couldn't find Lin. Concerned for his friend, he asked fellow workers if they knew Lin's whereabouts. The Japanese returned to the coal mine, accompanied by Li Zhao, their Chinese collaborator, and offered rice to those willing to fight them. In response to the eerie silence, Ip Man sought information about Lin's whereabouts from Li Zhao, but received no answer. Demonstrating his courage, Ip Man stepped up to fight, and several fellow miners joined him. During the brutal confrontation, Ip Man witnessed the Japanese coldly shooting a Chinese man who had fought bravely. This enraged him, prompting Ip Man to challenge 10 opponents. The general, observing the spectacle, was visibly impressed as Ip Man defeated all of them. Although awarded rice for his victory, Ip Man declined it, choosing instead to offer it to the grieving family of the slain Chinese man and deliver the heart-wrenching news of his death. In his pursuit of information about Lin, Ip Man confronted the silent Li Zhao, suspecting the worst. As he departed, the general requested Ip Man's return, leaving uncertainty hanging in the air. Ip Man confronted Li Zhao, labeling him a lackey and traitor without dignity for his country. Li admitted his compromise but questioned why Ip Man, with his dignity intact, hadn't taken action. Feeling helpless, Ip Man confided in his wife, expressing his frustration. She reassured him that their happiness as a family was what truly mattered. The following day, thugs attacked Chao Qingchun's cotton mill truck, and after seizing it, they demanded payment for the goods. Chao Qingchun, unable to pay, was brutally beaten. His son rushed to seek help from Ip Man, but by the time they arrived, the assailants had fled with the goods. Faced with the grim reality, Chao Qingchun expressed a desire to learn kung fu for self-defense, and the factory workers urged Ip Man to teach them. With little choice, Ip Man agreed, commencing the instruction for the remaining residents of the town. General Miura inquired about Ip Man's absence, to which Li Zhao feigned ignorance, prompting a brutal beating from the soldiers who demanded Li Zhao locate Ip Man unwillingly. Li Zhao led the soldiers to Ip Man's home, where Ip Man fiercely defended his family's honor by defeating the soldiers who made inappropriate comments and attempted to harm his son. Hiding the soldiers at his own home, Li Zhao endured another round of punishment when he claimed that Ip Man had escaped. Realizing the danger they were in, Ip Man decided it was time to leave Foshan for Hong Kong, reassuring his wife that he had friends there who could help. Back at the cotton mill, when the goons returned, Chao Qingchun's son boldly declared their inability to pay, and the united workers, led by Ip Man, stood up against the aggressors. It became evident that these goons were the same visitors who had previously defeated the martial arts masters in Foshan. Surprisingly, one of the goons turned out to be Yuan, Lin's brother. Ip Man sadly informed Yuan that Lin had searched tirelessly for him but had tragically passed away. He handed Yuan the precious metal case, inside of which was Lin's cherished kite. Ip Man emphasized the importance of personal choices, revealing that he had chosen a path as a robber, leaving Yuan in tears. The goons reported Ip Man's presence at the cotton mill to the general, leading Li Zhao to issue a warning. However, once Li Zhao left, Ip Man went to the mill where soldiers were violently mistreating the workers and willingly surrendered. The general offered Ip Man the task of teaching Chinese kung fu to the Japanese army, which Ip Man firmly declined, opting instead for a duel. That night, he remained in detention, refusing the food offered by the general, determined to stand by his principles. In his prison cell, a soldier warned Ip Man that winning the duel against the general would lead to his death. Nevertheless, the next day, as Chao Qingchun prepared to drive Ip Man's wife and son away from Foshan, she tearfully pleaded to witness what could be his final duel, as she had never supported his involvement in kung fu. Touched by her request, Ip Man returned, and in a fierce battle, he defeated and killed the general, bringing joy to all of Foshan. However, their happiness was abruptly shattered when a soldier shot Ip Man in the chest. The people of Foshan gathered around his fallen body, praying for their hero's survival. With assistance from Chao Qingchun, Ip Man, along with his wife and son, managed to leave Foshan. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito of Japan announced Japan's unconditional surrender, marking the end of an 8-year-long war, with the Chinese emerging victorious.